Raptors, Cavs, the home team has won every game in this series. Would it continue? Cleveland comes in on a recent hot streak in Game 7s. Cavs have won 4 straight Game 7s entering Sunday, which was tied for the third longest winning streak in NBA history.
We remember that one.
Yeah. So back to Sunday in the third. Mitchell dribbles left, step back 3.
The step back is so fun because he hops back with explosion.
Minute and a half later, Mitchell inside for the layup.
Little scoop.
Few minutes later, Raptors turn it over.
Yeah.
There you go. Finally.
Oh, watch your head.
This is the man of the third quarter.
Hey.
Yep. Jared Allen.
Why they went up 20 in the third.
And a minute later, Jalen Tyson can't connect, but Allen there for the putback.
On the glass, doing the dirty work.
8 offensive rebounds.
Allen joins LeBron as the only Cavs player with 20 points, 15 boards in a Game 7. The Cavaliers are looking to return to the finals for the first time since being swept by the Warriors in 2018. For the other 3 teams left in the East, it's been over 20 years since they last made the NBA Finals. Cavs and Pistons second-round series starts tomorrow, and there's a noticeable Boston-sized vacancy at the moment in the East bracket. So, Brian, what's your view of the East at the moment?
Look, I know we're at the point in the calendar where we all make predictions, and I wish everybody who's making those predictions luck, because I have no idea how this round is going to go. We just saw 3 of the 4 series in the East go to 7 games. I think both of these are primed to go to 7 games. All 4 of these teams could not only win this series, I think all 4 of these teams, under the right circumstances, can win the entire Eastern Conference. So I expect this to be high drama, high stakes, a lot of back and forth, and frankly, a lot of, ups and downs. There's going to be, these teams are going to look bad at times and they're going to look good at times. You better settle in for it.
Yeah, all 4 of these teams also that are still standing remaining in the Eastern Conference has a player that is under pressure. They have a player that we're going to be watching and circling and saying, how is your performance?
Or players.
Multiple.
That's
Some
fair.
have a group.
That's fair.
You look at Cleveland, they have a little bit of a group. You look at New York, they might have a little bit of a group based on the impact. But it also is going to be a career-defining opportunity for all of these squads because they want to get to the mountaintop. They want to be the challengers of the potential Oklahoma City Thunder to try to slow down their reign. And when you break them down, the Sixers, that player that we have an eye on is Joel Embiid for obvious reasons. He's healthy-ish at the right time, but his numbers are showing up in a big way. New York, Brunson and Cat, will they be able to right the wrongs of last year? And you think about if they don't win, we might look at a reconstruction in New York. Detroit, Cade Cunningham is probably the person shouldering the heaviest load. Yeah. His production dictates their success more than anyone else. It's like a straight linear line. And then the Cavs, James Harden. The question marks about how he goes later in the series. That's why he went to Cleveland, so he's not that number 1. But now you're going alongside a Donovan Mitchell, who we also have question marks. So each guy has an opportunity for these teams, but we'll see which one emerges to change their legacy in a positive way.
Obviously, this is a star-studded league, and it's about them. But I think the guys that can change the series or change the narrative or win your series are the others. The guys that stepped up for Cleveland and saved the names that you're talking about are Evan Mobley and Allen.
True.
Evan Mobley stretching the floor, knocking down threes, being aggressive, getting to the paint. Jared Allen, third quarter, unbelievable. Just offensive rebounding, blocking shots, deterring guys at the paint. Those 2 guys are going to be huge. And if Detroit wants to have a chance in this series, Jalen Duren has to be the second option. I love how Tobias Harris is playing. Shout out to Mr. Harris. I'm sorry, nothing to say. Tobias Harris can be a second option, but he shouldn't have to be a second option. But he's playing at this level, and you have Jalen Duren to step up. This team could be, so the way they're playing, they could advance to that next round if those 2 guys play the way they're supposed to. But that's going to be a big challenge for Jalen Duren taking on Evan Mobley and Jared Allen. So, Tobias Harris, hell of a series. Good. Keep going, young fella, old fella now. And I hope to see them, advance and make some noise in Detroit.
This could be wild to say. I think Detroit might be the team with the least pressure. Timberwolves Spurs start tonight. And check out this post from Minnesota's social media
A little
team.
X-Files sound.
There's a little alien action there with the Wolves. All right, before that tips off, a quick look back at their recent history. Despite being big underdogs, the Wolves won the season series 2-1, and their latest meeting on January 17th was memorable. Ant dropped a career-high 55 points, while Wemby had 39 and the win. Spurs are coming off 5 days of rest after defeating the Blazers in round 1. Victor averaged 22 points, 13 boards, and 6.5 blocks in the last 2 games of that particular series, but he also missed Game 3 with a concussion. The Timberwolves defeated the Nuggets on Friday despite their guards being devastated by injuries. Dante DiVincenzo is out for the rest of the season, and Ayo Dosunmu were unable to finish that series. Here's what Wemby had to say about Ant's potential return.
So, competitor, do you want to see Edwards get out there?
Yeah, of course. You know, they got more than Edwards and DiVincenzo, but, you know, those two are players that I like watching, you know. I like playing against. They go hard.
Now welcoming in our two reporters covering this series, Anthony Slater and Michael C. Wright. Anthony, on the Wolves side of things, all eyes are on Anthony Edwards. We know he wants to play, but what more can you tell us about his potential return?
Yeah, sounds like he's going to play, you know, barring a pregame setback. And, you know, I heard Danny earlier in the show call him Wolverine. That's the exact term that Julius Randle used at shoot-around today, you know, just talking about the expedited nature of all of his recovery processes. You know, Julius Randle talks about, you know, times he's had falls, you know, at points in his career where he goes to the back. You think he might have a serious injury. He's playing in the second half. But I will say, just because he is playing doesn't mean we're not going to be keeping a microscope on that knee. When we walked out to shoot around today, he's putting a pretty bulky left leg sleeve over that knee. He was going through, I would say, you know, 50 to 80% type jump shots. He was doing like one dribble step backs to kind of test the knee, but he has not had a scrimmage. He has not had a full contact practice. This is an urgency to try to get him back for this series, considering who they're facing. But, you know, again, we need to see how the knee responds. And one other quick note, Ayo Dosunmu has now been ruled out with the calf issue.
Oh, wow. Okay, well, that's big news. Appreciate that. Now, let's flip over to the Spurs side here. Michael, none of their starters have played a single game in the second round, but that doesn't affect Victor Wembanyama's confidence at all. What's his mindset as we head into game one?
Well, no matter the circumstances thrown at Victor Wembanyama, he wants to maintain that the standard that the San Antonio Spurs have set throughout the regular season and the playoffs, but he is excited about the potential for mental warfare in this series. He said in that first round against Portland, he said the Trailblazers were a very straightforward team. He said that they just sort of tried to overwhelm you with their physicality. He said Minnesota presents a different challenge tactically in what he called the technical basketball aspect. Obviously, there's the challenge of facing Rudy Gobert, and he's excited about that. There's video floating around on the internet of a 16-year-old Victor Wembanyama going against Rudy Gobert. Well, Victor said what you didn't see in the video was that Rudy took him to the weight room after it was over and just showed him how he worked and talked to him about how to take care of his body over the course of an NBA season. And Victor said that was very inspiring to him. He said it was a big part of his basketball journey. So given, you know, the matchups they've had throughout Victor Wembanyama's career, they've played 8 times. Rudy has won 6 of those games. So Victor's going to want to get some get back here, too.
All right, good stuff, Michael. Thank you guys so much. Anthony, Michael, appreciate the time. Speaking of Victor, this was an amazing stat from his last series. Wemby held the Blazers to 8 for 42 shooting as the contesting defender in the first round per ESPN tracking. Danny, that's 19%.
Yeah, that's pretty bad. Well, it's good for him.
Right. Bad for everybody else.
Teams.
Yeah. Yeah, Brian, just what are your thoughts on just everyone talks about what he can do offensively at that size, but just defensively?
Yeah, so the real challenge, though, was kind of low-key shade that he threw at the Blazers. He's like, they played straightforward. Yeah. Anyway, he's saying that the Minnesota plays more tactical. So the challenge for Chris Finch and the Wolves is going to be to move Victor to where they want him to move so that they can open up other things. It's kind of like almost like football, where like remember when Deion Sanders was in his prime, like he took away that side of the field, and so he had to do some things. Victor takes away portions of the court. So what I think Victor is talking about here is he's waiting to see the tactics that Minnesota employs tonight to try to move him, and then he can read that. And he's looking forward to that challenge. I'm going to be honest with you, that is not something you normally hear from a player playing in his second ever playoff series, but I am not surprised because this is the standard that Victor has made clear he wants to set.
Janae, we saw that video of him and Rudy when they were young, or when he was certainly very young. Now, Rudy's coming off maybe his best series ever, the way he defended the Joker. What do you make of this matchup?
Well, Victor actually just said it when we heard the report about the mental warfare. That really applies mentally when you're going up against your teammate through France. I know this when I played against my sister. It was a lot of mental warfare. When someone you love and care about is on the other end, it's a mental game. And this is going to be a matchup, if you look at this tape, of force versus finesse. Because Wemby's going to try to use force. That's actually to Rudy's advantage. He's going to try to drive him through the baseline. Instead, Rudy can take those shots. He's called the Stifle Tower for a reason because he's like concrete, he's like metal. Instead, Wemby will have to use his skill set, which is finesse. Again, he's gonna try to blow through him, but then he starts getting into his dribble package. Amazing defense, shuffling the feet, but he gets him with an okie doke and up and under. This is the finesse, and look at the stride to get to the rim. How many players? Okay, one step and literally finger roll it right at the basket. And so he has to play through his strengths against a guy that he cares about. But that's why he says it's mental warfare, because he knows Rudy, his game better than anybody else.
Yeah, there's not many people out there that know Victor like Rudy does. And it's not as simple as guarding Jokic on the block. Jokic is more in the post. He does stretch the floor some, but Wemby's going to be out there. So it's going to be a challenge for Rudy. But I think he's taken on this challenge, being the fact that he was left out of Defensive Player of the Year finalist award. So ever since then, he's taken upon himself to be a defensive impact or presence or dominance on that end of the floor when playing Denver. And now against San Antonio, I think he'll do the same. Yeah,
I'm fired up already for this series, and it hasn't even started yet. We're still hours away. But anyway, from the NBA to the W.
Take a seat, boys.
As last night was the final tune-up for the preseason, let's take a look at some WNBA today.